You're listening to Pole Parlour, a fun, inspiring podcast for all those bewitched by pole dance. Each week, your Madam Crimson Minxxx has candid conversation with unique, engaging individuals from within and around the pole dance community. Pole Parlour is passionate about preaching creativity, soulful sensuality, and empowerment through pole dance.
You know how we do.
Welcome everyone to Pole Parlour. This is episode 14, Kelly Yvonne. I'm your host, Crimson Minxxx. On this episode, we have Kelly Yvonne. Kelly is a pole dancer, choreographer, producer, director, and businesswoman. On this episode, we talk about how she discovered pole in 2009 and quickly turned it into her full-time career, her vision in creating artistically engaging, immersive experiences through her signature pole shows, and what it takes to maintain momentum and stay creative through the inevitable ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. And before we jump in, make sure you get your tickets for Parlour Play. Parlour Play is a non-pole event for pole dancers happening in Hollywood, California on Friday, May 27th, 2016. We'll be doing mini workshops with past guests Carmine Black and Brian Wolf, along with dance-offs, a costume contest, and lots of free play. All with some pumpin' music, an open bar, sinful desserts, a photo booth, and more. So head over to the website at poleparlour.com to learn more and get your tickets. And please share with your friends and pole comrades. And while you're there, check out Kelly's post-podcast interview on the blog where she shares some of her favorite photos, music, video, and more. So now, here's Kelly. Welcome, Kelly Yvonne, to Pole Parlour Podcast. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, you know what? You've come up on past podcasts. So a number of times, including shows with Brian Wolf and Shane Evans. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm flattered to be here.
Yeah, it's great to be able to talk to you directly now. So starting off, how long have you been pole dancing and how did you first discover pole?
I have been pole dancing since 2009, so approximately, I guess, 7 years, coming up on 7 years. Kelly Maglia, the costume designer, introduced me to pole. She told me about it.
She was our last guest.
Oh, yeah.
She did talk about you too. You've been on a lot of past episodes. Do know that.
Well, the LA community, I mean, we all tend to cross and intersect in a variety of ways. Yeah. But I actually met Kelly through her sister because we danced on the Clippers together. Oh. And so Kelly and I started hanging out, and she was like, I pole dance. I was like, oh my goodness. But I didn't start. It took me a year to start, but that's actually how I found out about it. I think, to be honest, the crowning moment was I went to one of her recitals, and this girl, she did, like the crucifix drop, where you like stop right before.
Yeah.
And I just remember that moment. I was like, okay, sign me up.
I need to learn that.
I'm gonna try that. Yes, I remember.
Oh yeah.
But it did take me a while to actually step into class.
Yeah, well, because you have a history as a dancer, right?
Yes. And at that time I was heavy in production. I thought I was retired from dance at that time, and so it wasn't like high on the priority list. But then once I stepped in, it was over.
It's funny how it works that way. What kind of dance? You said you were on the Clippers, and what were you doing? What other kind of dance were you involved with?
Well, I'm trained in all genres because after I graduated from college, I moved to Los Angeles to pursue, commercial dance in the industry. And the first thing I did was I joined a scholarship program. And so that's where, 40 hours a week, every discipline. It was pretty intense, but it took me from 0 to 180, if you will. So I'm trained in everything. But yes, I did dance in the NBA for a number of years, 2 years with the Warriors up in Northern California. Now everyone knows who they are. And then 1 year with the Clippers here in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so you love dance, but you thought, I'm going to get into the production side of things.
Oh, no, I actually had an injury, a debilitating injury.
Oh, so that's why.
Yeah, I thought I was done. I broke a bone in my foot, and it was like major surgery. And so they just said, basically, shift your focus. So tragic. But I shifted it to production, and that's where I learned how to produce and how to make everything else happened. So pole, just all of those worlds came together because it didn't require a lot of my feet. I mean, understandably, but when two-dimensional dance, it's all feet. So pole gave me like a reprieve from that. And then I got to bring the production world. And so that's kind of how all this happened. It was a beautiful surprise.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it seems to be working out for you because you have Kelly Yvonne Productions now.
Yes.
So can you tell us about that? Like, what does that encapsulate? Because I know it's a lot.
Well, ironically, Kelly Yvonne Productions started before the pole dancing. It started when I switched to production.
Okay.
So, no, actually, it started right after the scholarship program. I started booking gigs. I was like, "Come on, girls!" Like me and the girls in the program, let's go perform everywhere. And so, I would just. First, I tried booking us, and we didn't have names. So then I started renting the places out and just creating our own shows. That's how the production company started. So it started with dance, and then I had a friend that did fashion. I was like, why don't you do a fashion show? We'll be the dancers. And then a friend of mine was in a band, and I was like, you guys can play. And it just like kind of organically became this production long And then I discovered pole, and that's when Girl Next Door and Seven and all that stuff happened. But I was producing before, a long time before.
Cool.
But, yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned Seven and Girls Next Door. So those are two shows that you put on that are, can you tell us about those?
Well, yes, absolutely. The first show was Girl Next Door, and that show was inspired literally from class. I just remember when I first started pole dancing. So we're talking about 2009. So the internet's not alive with pole dance. I mean, it was, but not to the extent that it is now, I would say. So it was very much everyone's secret. But the thing that I found so fascinating was like the woman to the pole to the right was a mom, and she was an engineer, and she's a doctor, and she's a business. It was just everyone was just this random mix of women, but we all had this shared secret. And I don't know about them, but I wanted to dance, and I wasn't at that time. It was either the adult entertainment world or competitions. There was nothing in the middle. So that's literally why I created Girl Next Door. It was kind of from a selfish place. I just wanted a stage to perform on. But at the same time, I was like, I think all of these women want a stage to perform on because we had this naughty little secret. And so that's how Girl Next Door was born.
You're just the girls next door during the day, but at night you dance on poles.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And so that was a beautiful project because the template was broad, so the dancers were able to go a lot of different places conceptually, thematically, sonically, and that was definitely our hallmark show. But from there, so then we had like the Girl Next Door image. Then me as an artist, I wanted something a little naughtier, so I created Seven, and that lived at a venue that the audience watched the show from beds. I mean, I had to go there, and so that's what Seven was about, and that was like our naughty show.
It's the Seven Deadly Sins.
Yeah. So yes, it was inspired by the Seven Deadly Sins, but quite literally, the presentation was inspired by Eyes Wide Shut. So that whole experience, Tom Cruise, and so it was that. So unfortunately, both of those shows are on hiatus right now because both venues have closed. That's where we are right now in Los Angeles. However, what I'm doing presently is I'm shopping off elements of the shows at venues across town. And so we will see iterations of them very soon, but just in different formats. And so I'm very excited about that, but it's still very much in the development phase.
Yeah, it takes time, but it's cool. So I've seen a lot of your shows, and so I love how you said your inspiration is Eyes Wide Shut. Just so people know, when you go see the last show I saw of Seven, you actually have to wear a mask.
Yes.
Yeah, so you incorporate this theatrical environment that everyone is entrenched in. It's not just take your seat and watch a show. You employ people to walk around and interact with the audience. They'll take sips from their drinks and they'll kind of like caress them or lead them to the room they need to be in. It's interactive theater, really.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what the next iteration of all of these experiences will be. You have to be in the room to believe it. Yeah. And Seven started that, in the reception of that, like everyone being like, oh my gosh, he's touching me. I was like, oh, okay. Is that what we want, audience? I can do that. So yeah, the girls, the Kittens, now they're known as the Kittens. The Kittens are very playful, but but I don't give them direction. I say, go as far or as not as you feel comfortable. And these creatures come out, and it's incredible.
Yeah, it's cool because we talk a lot on this podcast about bringing pole to the non-pole community, and that's a show that interests people who don't know anything about pole dance or have never been to a pole dance show, but they can still enjoy themselves, and then in that way witness pole sometimes for the first time and have this like artistic appreciation, which is really cool.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's definitely what the intention was, especially as I started to come out about this hobby.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to say, yeah, we can get down and dirty, but we can also make you cry. We can make you laugh.
Yes.
And everything in between. And I think that's what makes it probably one of the most diverse art forms, you know, because we can literally transform it into anything we need it to be. And that's what's just incredible about, I guess, the sport and the hobby and the, you know, again, the art form. So
yeah. Now, what does it take? Because you have a company, so you have dancers who I guess have to audition, or what does it take to become part of your company to be able to dance in these performances?
With the way that I'm taking the company, you know, I'm expanding. I'm definitely going in the direction of expansion. It's kind of a client by client situation because in certain circumstances, the demographic is, you know, heavily female and they want to see a lot of men, or it's heavily male and they want to see a certain kind of girl, or it's just if we go into the commercial industry, you actually are now subject to those things. So the club owners know who their target demographic is, and so they want to hire accordingly. So it's getting a little tricky, but how to perform for me, it is based on audition, but at the same time, it's just being around because an opportunity literally lands in my lap and I'm like, oh, go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those, like a lot of times someone just happened to be in the right place at the right time and I'm like, you're perfect, go, you're hired. And so that's kind of how it's kind of evolved into more of like a management in that sense. Does that make sense? As opposed to like a company.
It does make sense. So you have a company that, you know, people have their set opportunities for people to perform for you and to try out, if you will, and if you haven't heard of them or seen them, and to get themselves in front of you. But you see what's out there. So if someone's putting themselves out there, you're not going to hold back from reaching out to them.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's your job. So it's.
I'm always on the hunt. I'm always scouting, going to events, seeing new talent, seeing what's out there. But in particular, I'm really interested in the intersection of the worlds, like the aerialists meet the pole dancers, meet the dancers, because in my exploration now in the town, people want your dancers to be varied. They want them to have a multiple of facets, not just, okay, I have to hire the pole dancer, then I have to hire this dancer and that. So it's really interesting because our industry is merging in a lot of ways. And I think the commercial industry is reflecting that as well. And so it's a good place. It's a good place to be creative and stay curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you also book dancers for like venues around the city, right?
Yes.
Is that something where you're seeing a demand for that increasing lately?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because again, like we're in the Snapchat generation where people need to have experiences. They need something to shoot. So if you have a weird, interesting act, then, you know, it's marketable, and it's definitely something that you know, if it's presented right, the club would be interested in. So that's what I'm just kind of exploring, because we've spent a lot of time in our industry, in our niche. But I'm like, well, what's going on the outside? So I'm pushing commercial and music and film and TV and everything, just to see how far we can really take this. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, it's good to be curious, and it's good to be ambitious, because it does seem like you have an interest in any creative opportunity. And you even do a competition, right? You started Paragon. So as much as you love the theatrical entertainment aspect, you do see the validity in competitions, which is cool. So tell us about that. Was last year the first competition, or?
No, actually, it started 2 years ago in 2014. The first one was here in Los Angeles. It's
called Paragon, for those who don't know.
Excuse me, yes.
I don't know if I mentioned that, so just to interject.
Yeah, so the competition is called Paragon, and it's an international competition. So 2 years ago, we had one contest in Los Angeles. Last year, we had a Latin American championship in Mexico City, and then we had an international one in the Gold Coast, Australia. And then this year, we're back in Mexico City to do the international contest on October 22nd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Paragon is interesting because I give the dancers a criteria of what the judges are looking for. And the criteria I've created, I think, also fuses in the artistry and quantifies it in a way that kind of gives merit to it. Because sometimes we can very easily quantify the technical things, but then it gets a little nebulous in the artistic. And so I think I've found a way to kind of marry the two in a good balance. Just based on the routines I've seen that have come out, I'm like, genius! Oh my God! It's so incredible. And yeah, so it's like that delicate balance, and especially like the competitions last year, like everyone just really mind-blowing performances. So we're going to start to release some of those videos as we get closer to the October date, so you can look out for that. But
okay, cool. Yeah. So what, because it's funny, we talked with Kelly Maglia, who introduced you to pole last week, and we were talking about how sometimes competitions are tough because of the rules aren't necessarily open enough to allow for some type of movement or creativity. And so are you saying you've actively kind of changed the rules for your competition a little bit so it allows for different than you would expect in other competitions?
Well, I can't speak for other competitions, but what I can say is the competition, the competitors in Paragon get a technical score and a creative score.
Oh, okay.
So they're able to quantify both sides.
Okay.
And the technical score is a little bit higher than the artistic, just because it is a pole competition.
Yeah.
But as a choreographer and as someone that coaches people on that side, I wanted to find a way to quantify it so that people won't be scared to go there thinking they wouldn't get points.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, it's interesting to see how competitions are evolving even over the past couple of years, based on demand, and that the talent level has just gotten insane.
I just can't. I'm like, what was that? Are you holding on with your nose?
Yeah, seriously.
And that's it.
Wow. So, yeah, so that's cool. So you have competitions, you have shows, you run performances around in clubs and night venues and day venues sometimes.
Yes.
And then you also own Choreography House.
Yes, Choreography House.
Yes. Repping the tank top right now during an interview.
Oh, I literally just came from the studio.
That's fine. I suspect that you were going to be running from somewhere with all of these things happening.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
So when did that open? And was that something that you opened first, or did you open it just because of the need for a place for people to rehearse?
That's exactly actually why it opened. So Girl Next Door started in 2009, and Choreography House opened in 2011. And in that time, Natasha and I met, and Natasha and I built our brand, with me doing choreo and her being fucking amazing. And so from that, people wanted me to help them with their routines. And I needed a place to rehearse, not just for the Girl Next Door show, but now it was starting to become this coach. And I kid you not, this would be our practice. So there'd be like a 5-minute gap between the end of one class and the beginning of a next. And I would be like, go.
Get your ass out there. Run it.
Literally tape that. And we would that's how rehearsal used to be.
Oh my gosh.
For major comps, or we'd have to stay really late. And so the original idea for Coryell House was it to be a rehearsal space, period. Now, obviously that doesn't quite pay the bills. And so we had to start exploring some other things. And pretty much once we did Groupon, then we became a full-fledged studio. Everything changed. Then it was like, oh my gosh, we have clients. Oh, answer the phone. It became a studio. So it was very organic. And just kind of like how I even came to this world. It was just kind of like water. It was like, oh yeah, let's go this way. Oh, sure. Oh, let's try that. And so that's how Coryell House was born. And now it is a facility that does provide classes as well as rehearsal space. So we're still the same. But now we're just feeding, into the different avenues that we already discussed. So.
Yeah, because we spoke with Brian about how he did the scholarship program there, which is like that intensive 6 months training course, perhaps.
Well, now it's 12, but it's pretty intense.
Whoa.
It's pretty intense.
Oh my gosh! So,
but the 6 months is the intensive, yes.
Yeah. So it seems like you've created the system there where you're you're developing the dancers to then feed into, not, that sounds terrible, feed into the system, but you know what I mean? But actually, I'm going to look at it like you can develop these dancers and then you have avenues for them to perform available. So it's not like you're, like you said, when you came out of your scholarship program, you had to hustle and and create your own shows. And it's kind of nice that you had these shows already available for them to flow into.
Absolutely. Like the premise of the studio now is but we try to just provide a platform for people to go in any direction they need to. And especially with the scholarship program, because although there's a heavy focus on performance, some people, like some of the people in the program right now have developed this genuine and intense passion for teaching. Like they didn't know they had it and they love it so much. And so I don't want the misconception to be that you only have to go that route, because we will take you wherever you want to go. But there's a lot of people that genuinely want to become a better teacher. And we have a very strong emphasis on teacher development and shadowing and making sure that they understand how to, read their class and, just provide the best experience. And so Brian is just a prime example of just everything that the program is about. Like, he is just an awesome person. He puts himself out there. He's so gracious. And I'm loving this journey, just watching it unfold, And so to have been a part of any part of that as a studio, we're all behind him, just like, do it, go. So yeah, that's super incredible.
Yeah, it's the community has changed in the way that people are able to develop themselves and put themselves into certain genres or places has completely developed. And I'm curious, since you've been doing this since 2007, how have you seen things change? I mean, even when you just talked about Brian, like social media came into my head, like that wasn't around in 2007 to promote.
Well, not to the extent.
Yeah. So what? Yeah, exactly. Not to the extent. So how have you seen just in the past 9 years the industry change?
Wow. The one thing I will say is, let me clarify. I started pole dancing in 2009.
Oh, 2009. 2007 was the production company, but it wasn't pole yet.
Not pole yet.
Okay.
But in 2009, there was people putting things online, but that would be the one thing I would say has been the biggest leap. Like, the geographical divide doesn't exist anymore. Like, we are so connected as a community, like at an instant, someone took a class and I'm going to see what happened in that class right now. Like, versus they practiced it, they put it in a performance, and then we see it. Everything is very immediate, which is good. It's immediate, it's connected, and I don't know. That's just the one thing I would say that has been the biggest leap. Outside of that, I'm just happy that there's so many more people in the industry, and so many more people means that there's more people talking about what we do. And I remember in 2009, like, I whispered that I pole dance. Like, I whispered it because I was so tired of the and now it's very nice, now I can say I teach pole dance, and it's not quite so shocking.
The stigma is
and I think that comes from all of us just putting it out there and sharing with the world, this is what we do and we're about this and it's okay and don't be scared, and that's the beauty of it. I would say that I was way more fearful of what I did, and now I'm like, let's all shout it. Let's just shout, and stay creative and stay, supportive. So that would be the biggest changes that I've observed.
Yeah, that's a big one. And you're right, because sometimes people get down on the pervasiveness of all of the media out there, but in reality, it really has opened a lot of people's eyes to it. 2009, I definitely had no idea what pole dancing was outside of strip clubs. Absolutely. So, and now I feel like, it's been on Oprah. And so, Auntie knows what it is now. Exactly. And so it's growing in that way.
And that's incredible. And that's something we need to celebrate, because, there's a lot of fitness fads and a lot of things that, that spike and whatnot. And I think if we want to continue this hobby, this obsession or whatever, we do need to come together and get more cohesive, because that's that's the only way, power in numbers and, the collective.
Yeah, and what you're doing, like taking a creative vision and applying it to, to dance and then putting it out there.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
Yeah, but it's working.
Well, yeah, it's working. And I would just say the one thing about the commercial aspect, the thing that's shocking is the things that we as pole dancers think is so amazing, right? Because we know how hard it is, or how much strength is required, or how much flexibility is required. But the things that shock like your mainstream audience are usually just going upside down, like it's really awesome, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the commercial industry is really causing me to just reflect a lot more, like it's really different, but I'm excited.
What do you mean by the commercial industry?
So like with booking gigs and sending dancers out, and when the client's telling me what they're looking for, because they don't know our sport or our industry, they're not saying like, I'd like a spin pole combination and, traverse, they're like, dance. So you get into the conversation, especially in the concept development, you start to see what the things that they describe as amazing. And usually it's just like going upside down, or, any kind of split, legs apart.
Yeah.
Like those are the things that. But if you look at another discipline, like I'm going to use tissue as an example. Like I don't do aerial tissue, but without fail, any aerialist that does a double leg split in Girl Next Door gets like, the audience goes nuts. And that's just a prime example of that. It's just what they understand as hard is not necessarily what we do. And so that's just it's a learning curve. But that was the most shocking thing about like these new gigs. I'm like, upside down, really?
Yeah. Laybacks kill all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's good because, the basics are the basics, and, maybe we need to get back to the basics, maybe that's a testament to that. So
yeah. And then it's also nice when you're putting so much pressure on yourself, like I can't get this Allegra or whatever, be like, come on, 99% of people, if you can do like a fireman spin, or like, damn.
Right.
Or like, like a martini sitter, like, holy shit. So take a step back and realize what you're doing is very impressive.
Yes. I agree with that. Like, there's no need to compare yourself to anyone else's journey. Like what we do every time we go to class and accomplish, like you feel it in your body. It's impressive. Yeah. It's impressive. So it's nice to go out into the commercial world and be like, I know I'm a superhero, right? Going upside down.
Seriously. Cool. So. Very cool. And yeah, because we've been talking about trying to push that more on the show of getting gigs around town, and and having like a force behind people that are encouraging it and presenting it is a huge step, and even getting the professional pole dancers work and getting paid and things like that, which is a reality of being a professional pole dancer, is that like, how do you pay the bills? So
you pay the bills, and
commercial sometimes is
100%. Yeah. And I think again, it comes from the awareness, it comes from it being presented, it comes from putting a pole dancer in a very public place and letting people Snapchat about it, because that's exactly how it happens, And so I think as we raise awareness, then everything else can follow suit. At least that's what I'm pushing for. So we'll see.
Yeah, and you have a statement on your website that I loved, and it says, each year, Kelly Yvonne continues to redefine the concept of pole dance entrepreneur. And so I wanted to just talk with you about that, about what do you think it means to be an entrepreneur in the pole dance industry? What does that take?
What it means to be an entrepreneur in the pole dance industry is quite literally someone who's willing to take a risk on an idea. Like, that's how we all came to this industry. We took a risk on an idea that we could pole dance, and, we did, and we were able to. And so I don't even think that's limited to pole. I think that's just life, like an entrepreneur of life, being willing to take risks on yourself. If you believe in your idea, your vision, your goals, do it, like it's so easy that pole at some point becomes so easy that we often forget how we started. Like, I remember the first time you actually did invert. It was quite a remarkable moment. I know for me, because I was like, I don't think I'll ever go upside down, And so, there was something that put us in that moment. And so just staying hungry like that, I think, is what it means to be an entrepreneur, and being open and just being willing to try. And I mean, as you guys all know, I've fallen on my face many times publicly, you know, like literally ran into a pole on stage, but, you know, figuratively and everything in between. And, you know, it's not easy, especially in this day and age when, you know, social media is so social media. And so I think it's just also having the courage, you know, to take those risks, and doesn't matter what happens on the good side or the bad side, just do it. You know, why not? You know, you took a pole class, like, why stop there? So that's what I think what it means. And every year I'm always trying to challenge myself in some way, in some direction, just because I get bored. So I need to push in a new, okay, let's try this. Oh, let's try that. But not bored in an ungrateful way. I just mean, like, I'm
more
like, well,
ambitious.
if that's easy, then what if I did this? So
that makes sense. It's like being willing to put out new creative ideas and understanding that failure happens, because I think a lot of people fail once and then it's just, you don't want to try again. And so
that's the hardest thing, is stepping up again.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that you've seen that and you've lived through that, but, you know.
Oh my God, I've lived that. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. I mean,
happens to the best.
It happens to everyone. But I think that the thing that I learned, at least in this last year with the ups and downs, is I was like, oh, everyone has troubles.
Yeah.
Everyone struggles through things. Like, you just kind of, like, you know, we become immersed in our own experience, and social media only shows us a certain side of experiences. So you kind of get lost in this fantasy land. But when you stop and actually have a conversation, I'm like, oh, so we're more alike than we are, you know. And so that's helpful, and that's encouraging. So if there's any encouragement in that, yes, I fuck up all the time. I fuck up and I cry about it, and I pick myself up and keep it moving. But yeah,
it's how you bounce back that really makes you a success. Back. Cool.
Yeah.
And so what is your trajectory moving forward personally? Like, how do you see you taking Kelly Yvonne Productions, and do you have any visions, ideas, things coming up you can share with us?
The most recent development is what I spoke about before with the summer show series. Right now I'm just developing experiences at different venues across town. And as soon as I, you know, lock out all the details, then we'll announce that. And but we have started rehearsal on that. We have the cast is forming together, and we're getting that together. As far as my trajectory, I think the most important thing, at least that I've learned as a human being to this point, is just to stay hungry, stay curious. My trajectory is to always chase happiness. You know, I don't know what that looks like, because it's always going to change. Like, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would never, I'm going to be a pole dancer. There's no way I would ever thought that in any comprehension, you know? And so because life can be that dramatically spontaneous, I just choose to stay on happy, you know? So that's my trajectory, is wherever happy is, that's where I'm going.
That's cool. More people should be able to say that. We should all be able to say that. So that's a good way to move forward.
Thank you. It took a lot of life to even have that clarity, but sometimes that's what life's about, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's move into the our standard secondary questions in the interview that we ask all the guests.
Okay.
So first one, which I'm interested, since you've worked with so many people, who is your pole crush?
My pole crush, she knows, is Heidi Coker. I'm obsessed with her in a really creepy way, but I keep it under wraps, you know. So, but she knows. She knows.
She's seen you on social media stalking and
social media. No,
outside her window a couple times.
Outside her door. No. No, it happened in Australia is when it really kind of became real. She did this hip hop piece. I was like, you are the truth. Like, what? In jeans. She did a pole dance in jeans and a sweatshirt in hip hop. I was like, I was done. I was done. But we were at the gig together. We were judging. And so I was like, can I just watch you sleep? You know, I don't save it for social media. I like to get creepy right away. So she's very aware, I think. I think she thinks I'm kidding, but it's total my pole crush.
She's a good one to have. Yeah, she's super impressive.
Super awesome.
Yeah. And so how would you like to see the pole community evolve over the next 5 years?
Oh,
We talked about how you want to progress, but in terms of the community, what are you hoping to see?
I would have to venture to say the same. Our industry is changing. We've seen it change just in the last, 2 years, 5 years. We're going to only see more change. So I would just like us to stay open, but at the same time, stay hungry and stay entrepreneurial, be willing to take risks, because we have worked so hard to get the pole community to this level as far as exposure in the mainstream and, commercial outlets and shows. And I mean, there's competitions around the globe now. We've done all of this expansion. So let's continue to expand and continue to show the world why we're so passionate about this thing that's, I don't know, in my case, taken my life in a completely different direction. So yeah, that's what I would love to see.
Yeah, it's good. And to support each other in our efforts,
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. So coming up, so you said you're working on a summer series. And
yes.
So I'm assuming the production, I can't even imagine. We didn't even get into that. But real quickly, actually, what is like entailed in pulling off these productions that you're working on? What don't we see as just kind of amateur dancers who just see the finished theatrical masked production?
Well, I mean, I think the one thing that people don't see is the initial negotiation. Like, I'm quite literally walking into venues saying, I have this idea, or I have this show, or I have this cast. At this point, at least I have footage and pictures and such. But like when I first started, I didn't have anything. I just said, hey, I have this idea and I think it's going to be awesome. Yeah. So what people don't see is that negotiation, and it's quite literally like auditioning. It's literally auditioning. I go into a venue and I have to figure out what they are looking for, what kind of vibe, I have to figure out all these different things, present the project in a certain way that makes sense. I'm talking numbers. It's a straight up negotiation, and it's tough. So I think that's the one thing that most people don't see. They come in after the negotiation's done, all the the ink's dry, and everything is where it's supposed to be. But that's probably the hardest part of my job too. If I'm going to be honest, because I'm a dancer, but I just want to do shows, so I have to go in there and say, hey, club owner, and so it's hard. It's really hard.
Put on your business pants, or just putting on pants in general as a dancer.
Yes.
Sucks. I have to wear pants to this meeting.
But as far as what's going on production wise, I'm staying hungry, and I'm exploring different avenues, and I'm really, really interested in just shock value for the audience in a lot of ways. And so I'm creating a lot of theatrical arcs for that. A balance between, shock and seduction is what I like to find, but new experiences, and experiences that not I'm living on Snapchat, but Snapchatable, like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. Like, I want that reaction.
Yeah, that's I've never heard anyone describe it like that, but that's a really good way to put it. It's a memorable snippet of some sort, an impressive snippet of some sort.
Yes.
That's
cool. That's what the new productions are going to become. You'll know that when you come to an event, you don't know maybe what the experience will be, but it's going to be something that, like, oh my God, it's right there. Something that's going to just
immersive in a way.
Yeah. Exactly. So. And
do you plan on taking shows outside of Los Angeles? Because you've done shows all around, right? And I know you've done shows in Chicago. And where else do you plan on, or have you done shows?
Well, we did our first out-of-town show in Dallas, Texas. I think that was in 2011. And then we did Chicago for two or 3 years. I'm not sure now. Before then, that's when it went international. As far as the plan for the future, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm kind of open. Like, if you know that Bruce Lee term about water, I'm just kind of open, and I'm staying curious, and I'm staying present.
Being open to the opportunities that present themselves, being fluid, yeah.
Because in the past, I think I was more about pushing, and this is how it has to be, and this is my vision. And, that blocks things in a lot of ways as well. Yeah. So So this year is about being open, but a lot of it's like blind sells, like, this is the show, do you like it? And like this, it's interesting, and it's a lot about an audition. So
Yeah.
however many places I booked, that's how well I did.
Gotcha. Well, how can we find you? How can we follow you so we know can see these upcoming events and see how things are progressing with you? What is your social media and website?
Well, I live on Instagram. I'd probably say that's probably my main outlet. I'm not much on Facebook. I'm not. I'm sorry, but I do have.
I struggle with Facebook too. I understand.
I'm actually not on. I'm on Snapchat, but I'm not on it. You know what I mean? But
Okay.
I would say for the most up to date would be Instagram. I would love to say that I update my website regularly, but I don't. But that would be number 2. Would be KellyYvonne.com.
Okay, and then Kelly Yvonne on Instagram.
Yes, exactly. Or the Choreography House. I actually update the studio more than my own. So.
Okay, hey,
that's too honest.
It's business. You got it.
Yeah.
It's hard
but any
to
of
do.
those, the choreographyhouse.com, KellyYvonne.com, and either the studio or my Instagram as well.
Okay, so. Yeah, if you're not already following, guys, definitely look it up.
Yes.
And then can you leave us with an empowering message or quote or anecdote or something to sign off with?
Yes. So I'm not sure how long this will be played or whatever, but right now is Lemonade in Beyonce Land. And have you seen it? I think
people in the future will have known that Lemonade is by Beyonce. So this will always be relevant.
Yes. But one thing there's a lot of stuff in it. There's a lot of messages and a lot of important themes. But the one thing that like literally screamed out at me, and it's just been something, especially when you go into these like these cold calls, nothing real can be destroyed. And that's what, in the words of Beyonce or her grandmother or something. Anyway, it's in the movie, but I think she said, my grandmother always told me. And that was just like, because there's a lot of self-doubt and there's a lot of everything around, but nothing real can be destroyed. And that, I don't know. It's resonating with me right now, so that's what I would like to leave you all with. In the words of the mighty Beyonce.
The words of the Queen Bee.
Baby.
Yeah, be genuine. If it's genuine, you can't.
Yeah, and so if you really think about that, it kind of takes off a little layer of doubt and insecurity, and maybe helps you be a little more ferocious when you're not feeling so. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great advice. That's a great thought. So,
yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, Kelly, thank you so much for sharing that and for sharing everything with us. This has been really interesting to see from a different perspective as someone who does not do all of these type of productions and carrying off this entrepreneur side. It's been really interesting to see how your creative vision has been brought to life and through pole dance.
Thank you. The fact that you're saying that means so much to me, because sometimes I get into my little, my little zone and don't remember that that's actually what I'm doing, and so thank you for that reminder and that fresh perspective.
Of course. Awesome. It's so great talking to you.
Likewise. Hope to meet you in person someday.
Yes, I hope so as well.
All right. Well, have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you for listening to the Pole Parlour podcast. Want more? Visit poleparlour.com for show notes and to link to the Facebook group where you can connect with other poloholics and continue the conversation. Listen to past episodes and subscribe to new episodes on the website, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. Lots of love, babes. Thanks for listening.